The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
We're back, baby. It's Sunday. We're going to dive into some great topics here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. I appreciate y'all pulling up per the norm. I am your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening. Wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to, while you're here, please wipe your feet. Like, subscribe, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. I think we deserve it. Give us 5 anyway and gift it. And of course, my boy Coop is here with me today. Hopefully his volume is at a good level this time, because we're going to dive into some fun topics like the double commitment week. Great excitement around that. And we had a couple of visitors this past weekend. Something to get everybody excited about, because it sounds like we've got an opportunity to win something big. And then we'll talk about the spring game, because it is the primer. We're less than a week away, guys. We are 6 days away from getting to see some spring ball and finally some football action. All right, Coop, happy Sunday, man. How you doing?
Man, doing great. I'd like to see some folks in the chat ready to roll. And so, like I said, in the green room, did a nice little yard work today. And so your boy feels like I just got hit by a truck. So it's good.
Yeah, Coop made the mistake of doing this before our show, knowing good and well that the dedication to this show is a lot higher, and he should have never put himself in a situation where he's going to be in this much pain. But I understand, because yard work, James, really? You're a parasite? That's actual comedic gold. I appreciate you saying that, because that's pretty funny. It's great to see all of y'all today here on this lovely Sunday. Hi to all of you. Thank you for pulling up. We're gonna have some fun. Great. Yeah. Thanks, Steven. Coop sounds good. So that means that we did not my out of townness didn't break Coop's sound for some reason this time around.
It was Jay. It was 100% Jay.
It was me. Coach Dent, thank you, sir. Hey, I hope to see you at the spring game. All right, so y'all know y'all gonna hear this every day this week. I'm going to post mine tomorrow morning. I want to know who's going to be at the spring game. Go ahead and jump in the comments. Let your boy know who's going to be pulling up and joining us at the spring game, because, regardless of what's said, I'm going to be there. All right, let's see. Coop, let's dive into the first topic of discussion and just get right into it, right? We got a double commitment this week, right? On the 10th, we had 2 guys commit. Malik Hawkins out of Frisco Emerson High School down there in Texas. And then we got Trent Wilson out of Florida. Coop, let's talk about Malik and the cornerback, 6'1", monstrous guy. How do you feel about that commitment?
We have had our passes at going after, oh goodness gracious, a little Texas legacies, and it's bit us in the butt. But when you get somebody like Malik Hawkins, I mean, number one, you've started seeing the defensive backs, the receivers, all these guys are getting bigger, right? So we're not seeing Brendan Ranley-Hiles out there at 5'6" with his somehow 5-star status, but it's. You can't hate the size, because you can't coach the size. That's not going to happen.
Nope.
But as a legacy, I mean, if you guys don't remember Michael Hawkins didn't have a ton of, he didn't have a big 4-year run at Oklahoma. But when he was out there, he was a lockdown guy. He was really good, and so. I mean, he had great size, and now with brother on campus slinging the ball around. I can't wait till spring game with brother on brother, Malik picking off Michael. That's going to happen at some point in the future. So again, legacy. You bring a Sooner home. Defensive back. It continues to be with Valai and Brandon Hall right now. You get a physical specimen, and you got to continue to be a guy to come in and play in this secondary.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was thinking about when it comes to adding in Malik. So, you've got a few other players that we're looking at corner-wise. With Kobe Sellers, you got Cortland, Guillory, or whatnot. And so it appears that the big goal is to get a mixture of the big and the tall guys, mainly big corners. I mean, you look at the
Yeah.
Jaden Rose of the world at 6'2" ish, Kanai Walker in the 6 foot range. You're looking at a lot of bigger corners, but you still got your Eli Boyens, who's going to be scrappy, right? He's going to be a scrappy
Yeah.
dude that be able to chase and keep up with your slot dude. So I can totally see the. For me, I guess visually, I see your nickel dudes being the smaller guys, your boundary or your sideline corner being your bigger guy. Probably sideline corner you want to have bigger. Actually, correction. Your sideline guy, your boundary guy sounds like you want to have as a smaller dude because they're basically working with the sidelines as their assistant, right? And then the one that's working the field, he's going to be the bigger dude because then it makes the passing radius a lot different. But as you mentioned, when we going up against Johnny Wilson ain't around anymore. Johnny Wilson ain't around no more for Florida State. We ain't got to worry about a dude being that big going out there and dominating our corners because we've got guys that are closer in height range to the 6'6" dude and they can jump. So that's a fair point to think about.
Yeah.
So add him to the class, that deepens what we're doing and bringing in the siblings, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of fascinating. So you got Eli Bowen in, and now you got Malik Hawkins. It feels like we really are trying to make it to where Oklahoma's a destination for the entire family instead of splitting things up. I know we got a few other guys to go after potential siblings, but what you think about that? The family ties we're going after.
I mean, it makes them more sticky, right? From a marketing standpoint or a sales standpoint, if you can get more than one product, in someone's hand, it makes it harder for them to cancel multiple products. Well, in the age of the portal, I mean, I'm pretty sure that wasn't calculated, but nope. Still, I mean, you've got to be able to have some dependency because, and I'm making an announcement without even telling Jay this, and I think that he will. We are retiring. We are retiring competitive depth. We are no longer doing competitive depth. Our new buzzword is complementary football because that's what we got to start playing is complementary football. So we got to have, we've seen the offense ball out and the defense and then vice versa. So now, guys, I'm saying complementary football because I think that when you bring these siblings in, with the Hawkins family, you've got one on offense, one on defense. So they're pressing and doing everything they can. With Bowen, they're both in the secondary, so there's that. But I mean, the whole point is we want complementary football nowadays more than just competitive depth because we've reached competitive depth. Like that is absolutely there, and I'm probably sending everybody down alcoholism by saying both of these things just on repeat. But yeah, Jay, do you agree with me that we have reached competitive depth for most of the position groups?
I think we have. Agree. I think the only one we don't have it fully is going to be offensive line. It's because we lost so many dudes, to the pros because we're graduating out. We lost some portal guys. We also had some graduates, and we're still trying to bring in the Bill Beaton type linemen. Hence why we took a massive class last year. But yeah, I think overall, competitive depth wise, we've got all of it. Like the anticipation is we're going to see dudes hit the portal at some point. We have to. That's what happens when you're stacking talent on top of talent on top of talent. At a certain point, unfortunately, guys are going to start fizzling out. But the competitive depth there, which I'm going to continue to say and keep that drinking game for myself.
Do both. We got two.
Well, we've got complementary football going on here, and that's what you need in order to be successful in the SEC. So that's another, of course, conversation. And as Topher mentioned, we're stacking talent, right? The goal is to stack as much talent as flipping possible. But I like the Hawkins pickup. It sounds like we're not going to take a massive class this time around. I think Brent Venables mentioned it a while ago that it's going to be probably in the 2022 range in comparison to what we did with 27, 28 last couple classes, actually. We're probably going to slow down on as many young and then kind of leverage the portal to fill those gaps, which I anticipate portal season is going to be huge on Tuesday. I'm going to be out of town for 2 days, but when I come back, either Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning, I anticipate that it's going to be just hitting the floor. Because first off, you got Bleedy showing up Philip Leedy from Iowa, the big defensive lineman. He'll be at the spring game. And to be honest, I think once he goes to the spring game, at that point, he'll have his decision on where he's going to play, if he's going to come to Oklahoma, if he's going to LSU, if he's going to Auburn. He's already done the tour. And I sense that post spring game, he'll make his decision. From there, our goal here, of course, with this is we want to make sure that we have a sufficient amount of depth at young as well as kind of veteran. Because that was kind of our big problem too last year. As I mentioned ad nauseum, we're young. And so that youth is going to get our butt. So anyway, from there, we had Trent Wilson, Coop. Trent, who's out of Maryland. My apologies, not Florida, Maryland. He's at Dr. Henry Wise High out there in the Maryland area. And now he got me excited. And I got me excited because not only him being a 4-star top 200 player in the country at defensive line, he's a defensive lineman that's top 200. That's a 4-star that all of us have been losing our minds hoping that Bates could land more of. Now, granted, last class, he killed it. Like, there's no complaints about last class. Like, I think last class showed you what Bates can do, and he got everything he needed. There was more we wanted, but he got everything he needed. We just had additional wants. I think Trent sets the stage for us to continue that going on. Cool. Yeah. Seeing Trent, seeing the way he plays, seeing the way he moves, seeing the fact that we snatched him up out of Maryland this early on a player that was pretty coveted. How'd you feel about that?
I mean, when you saw the Landon Reek news, like, most of us had already been talking about this Wilson kid, right? Yep. That all of a sudden this was starting to happen, and some of us were starting to get pretty jazzed up about this. I mean, you go into an area that is pretty much ran by the Big Ten, and obviously the old Big East country up there. But we've had some recent success with Caleb Williams and Farouk up in the area. And so when you can pull guys from all over the place, that's a true national footprint. And so that's what, it's hard to understand when you're a program, and no offense to these programs, but like a Texas Tech or a Wyoming or a Vanderbilt, those guys are not, they're not pulling people everywhere. It just continues to be a really cool thing for Oklahoma fans to be able to see if there is a top edge, echelon player in Florida, we're going to go after him, and we got a good chance. If it's out of Texas, outside of Pops being a Longhorn legacy, we can go get him. California, we can go get him. So we continue to watch that, but we're still bringing home the guys from around here. So you get the best of both worlds.
I love this, Steven, and this is what we've been saying. Thank you, Mr. Rink. We knew that there was a chance, but we also knew that there was a chance we weren't going to land him. There's a very higher chance. And like you said, Coop, once we started to see really the tea leaves reading towards A&M, we're like, look, throw everything at Wilson. And it appears that the minute that we did that, Trent's kind of like, yeah, because he was supposed to have been at the blue and white spring game this weekend for Penn State. And they were like, nah, I don't think that man's going to show up. And that got your boy excited. Like, oh, y'all don't see him coming through? Well, then, all right, we got him.
Here we go.
There we go. And the best part about getting a player like him, though, too, like I said, sets the foundation for the defensive lineman you want in this class that's going to help us go forward in the SEC. And so, of course, I'm excited. That told me that Bates is still Bates. He's still Todd Bates, still the guy from Clemson, who is still, unfortunately for him, trying to convince kids that, yes, things will be different at Oklahoma. Even though we still have a high-flying offense, we promise you the defense is still going to be really good. It's going to be Brent Venables actually doing it, and they're slowly changing the minds of recruits. So yeah, I anticipate more Clemson kids types being here. We're literally building a defense similar to what Brent Venables did at Clemson. So be excited.
And Jay, I'll add in this. We're seeing it with the safety room. That what do we have, 6 or 7 guys that like you're excited to see? Because this is where we have to get on the defensive line too. You cannot be rolling in. To be honest with you, guys that were. Jonah. I made the comment the other day about Woody Washington maybe ran out of time in Norman just because the talent is passing him by. And listen, Woody can still be on the field. He still has a spot on the field no matter what. Like if Woody is your starting defensive back at Oklahoma, that's great. If he is a rotation guy, that's great. But like Woody Washington, if you remember just a few years ago, Woody Washington's health was like the only thing that gave us an opportunity to having anything that could stop a nosebleed on defense. And now we're talking about him not, maybe even having a spot. So where we're going with this is you can't have a Jonah Lalau, be switching off a linebacker coming in and being what you expect to be a contributing defensive lineman. We've got to have every single one of these guys either be processed or be contributors, because you can't have a 5-year defensive lineman on campus, because you got to see like it's. And so that's why when you look at guys like Nashon Sanders or Marcus Strong, they see these guys and hopefully that ups their game. So what does it mean? I mean, imagine rolling out 8 defensive linemen that number 8 is a guy that can start for 2/3 of the teams in college football.
So let's go on into we had some visitors pull up this past weekend that got us excited. So we're going to dive into that. Before we do that, thank y'all for pulling up. Please hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. I think we deserve it. Give us 5 anyway. And gift it if you're listening to us on the podcast version. So let's talk about it, Coop. Let's talk about it. We had 2 big-time visitors, right? I got a video coming out to kind of talk even more detail about this too on the Sooner or Later Sports channel. Also on this play, we had one already dropped earlier. Daren Coleman, the quarterback out of Lakeland, Florida, Orlando Jones High School, came through. And when you saw all the pictures this kid was posting, it kind of made you feel like, yeah, he's definitely pro Oklahoma. Like pro Oklahoma. He loves it here. 6'1", 160. I think the biggest thing for him is I kind of need him to put on some more weight. But if we can lock up the 2026 quarterback now, like we did with Kevin Sperry last year, that honestly kind of fast tracks us right into 2026 class, though, right? Because, I mean, we've got Hatton already, Jonathan Hatton, running back down there in Texas that out of nowhere committed a while ago. But having your quarterback, which lands your cornerstone, that's just going to do nothing but accelerate that class, right?
I mean, this is what you saw out of Caleb Williams, what you saw with Jackson. Jackson was, he was the epitome of that class, 2 years ago. And same thing with Caleb. Like anytime that when you have a cornerstone quarterback in your class, that is what, gets you closer to a top 5 class. So like I think this year, it'll be a struggle to be a consensus top 5 class because we just don't have the quarterback in this. But I mean, I don't know how you've been looking at Daren's film. Like, what are your thoughts on him? Because it's the opportunity is just blows my mind.
Yeah, there's a big opportunity with him. Like, and I think that's the big thing jumped out to me is size wise. Like, I need him to get a little bit thicker, right? But, and I'll go ahead and add I'll let y'all see some of the video too. But when I watched his film, I was like, okay, let's see how mobile he is. And then when I got to watch him, I was like, oh, he's actually a lot more mobile than I expected. And he can throw it on the run, right? So
yeah,
that really is what gets you kind of excited about him. And so of course I had to go grab the film so we can kind of watch him play and talk about him. But he has good touch, especially on long passes. I think that's what got me excited. And I like the way he steps into the pass. Like he revs up and he just lobs it. And then of course he's athletic. Again, he's 160 pounds. I need him to up that size. But he's also playing ball in Florida. Now he's in the Lakeland area, which is closer to I think Orlando than it is to like Miami. But watching him be able to move is good in Florida football. But he has really, 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 really good touch. I can't wait to see what it looks like next season. I can't wait to see what it looks like, which this is his sophomore film, basically. We'll have junior year next year. And then, well, this fall, and then next year around the fall, we get to see the senior tape. I'm curious to see how he improves, right? And he has no problem throwing it across the middle. Can't beat that. To me, I'm like, okay, we got a quarterback that got some good touch. I don't know what this arm strength looks like. I mean, because watching this film, I didn't see a lot of passes where he was just launching it deep, but he has a nice lob to his passes, and of course, his wide receivers are open, so they're of course killing the game. So, and he's got some good pocket awareness. There's a lot to be excited about. Let's just put it that way.
Do you have, is this one on Orlando Jones or is this Daren Coleman?
This is Coleman. His high school is Orlando Jones.
Okay. That's what I kind of wanted you to say.
Yes. The high school is Orlando Jones. This is Daren Coleman. Yes.
Somebody texted me and said, "Who's Orlando Jones?" And I said, "It's Orlando Bloom's cousin." But no, it's
stupid.
I mean, at $160, as a sophomore. So what are you, 16, maybe 15? And here we go, guys. Like this, you got to continue to stack. The options are take just a random guy, and then you use a scholarship for something that could, for somebody who may never step foot. Guys, Michael Hawkins and Kevin Sperry and, Daren Coleman, somebody's not going to be around. And let's just go ahead and say, Jackson Arnold too, throw him in there. Somebody will not every single one of these guys are going to be 2 years Heisman, next one up. Like that you just can't feel like that's going to be something that happens. And the quarterback run we had with Baker, Kyler, and Jalen, it just, guys, it's just that doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. I mean, you see with what's his name, Jalen Milroe down in Alabama now, like everybody is frustrated as all can get out because he's not Bryce Young. He's not Jalen Hurts. He's not Tua Tagovailoa. So you got Kevin Sperry moving a school again. We've been assured that this is not a bad deal. With Hawkins on campus right now, he's going to have a good opportunity to be in there. But I mean, like I said, if the guy shows up, it shows that he has heart. He is confident in who he is. And we can't sit there and say like, Baker Mayfield walked in here and said, I'll put my chip on the table and ante up and play this game, and I'm going to win. That's what we want out of every single one of these quarterbacks, is them coming in and saying, I'm going to win. And for him to say Oklahoma was his dream school, guys, quarterbacks are going to any program like Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, guys, like they're going to say like, that's my dream school. You're going to hear that quite a bit because these are the big dogs on campus. These are the big people in college football. These are the names. You continue to see a little pivot away from, maybe what we saw with Arnold and Sperry, but a continuation of the quarterback position is going to be a mobile guy who can throw a deep ball and who has the good passes over the middle. That's what you need. You cannot have a guy who can't throw the deep ball. You cannot have a guy who's not mobile nowadays. Peyton Manning is not going to be the quarterback that you need nowadays because the athleticism in the defensive linemen and linebackers are it's just out of control now. And you sure as hell, don't want to be unable to run around. So, I mean, like the days of a Landry Jones, it's just a tough deal.
Now, with that, I've been debating this, and I don't know how true this shall be, but I also am wondering if this is a possibility that we could take two quarterbacks in 26.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of like the Zerberg Hawkins situation. It's
right.
You may have to take a functional person with an arm because I don't think you're going to have fifth-year seniors who are legacies to your program and extremely intelligent, like our legacy quarterback we got in the portal this year. Those aren't going to happen all the time. You can't have a Casey Thompson just roll in. You're going to have a guy who can come in and has the opportunity to really work on his craft, put his nose down, and go. If you're looking for glory and fame and spotlight, you may have to go seeking all over the place. But I promise you this, it's, we need a couple Matt Castle situations. We need a couple guys who never see the field but still get drafted.
Yeah, and I know that the concerns around quarterbacks, right? You got what you're gonna have Jackson Arnold, which actually we saw a comment in here a second ago. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Uh, Lance, I actually disagree with you there. I don't see Jackson Arnold. Well, I'll put it like this: if Jackson Arnold is as good as we think he is, he ain't here no more than 2 years, right? He's gone as a actually he would be considered a junior at that point. So yeah, after his
Redshirt.
junior
Yeah, he would
season,
be a true junior.
he'll
Yeah.
be a true junior because he doesn't have a red shirt. So if he's as good as we is advertised, junior year, he gone. He'll go end up being able to go pro. And it'll be one of those, yes, go pro, because right behind you we'll have red shirt sophomore or yeah, red shirt sophomore. Actually would it be red shirt sophomore? Yeah, it'd be redshirt sophomore Michael Hawkins right there behind you, ready to play, and he'll be able to play for 2 years. And then you'll have redshirt sophomore Kevin Sperry right behind him, and he would play for at least 2 years, if not three. And then you would have whomever's in 26, 20, and then going down the line from there. If there's anybody that I would wonder about transferring, would probably be Zerbra, and that's only if he doesn't want to try to compete, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, CW, I don't think we're at risk of losing him at all. He's a freshman. He's not gonna. I mean, he can leave, but he ain't playing nowhere. Everybody's gonna want him to sit a year and learn the system. So may as well learn the system here and then just take over when Jackson Arnold goes pro. Gives him 2 years behind, 2 years to really train up, and God forbid, knock on wood, hopefully nothing happens to Jackson. But if Jackson comes out for a game or a couple of quarters, he's going to go in and play. We're going to get to see him, right? He's slowly moving. I'm sorry, not slowly. He's quickly moving himself up into QB2 status. Now, granted, I sense we won't throw him out there in the wolves that quickly, but it'll be between him and Casey. I mean, General Booty's going to be there he's a great scout quarterback. They've all raved about him as a scout team quarterback. I don't know if we see Booty on the field, even though I would like to see him on the field. I just don't want him to ruin the namesake by playing bad. If he plays bad, it kind of takes away from the greatness of the brand. We keep that brand strong. I love the General Booty brand. Keep it strong, right? Let's keep the mystery behind his ability to play rather than finding out if he's good or bad. Because if he's good, then of course we want to see more of him. But he's bad, then it tarnishes what we're doing here. So
hey, listen, you know that there's going to be a conversation if he had to play and he played terribly. Somebody would have to say, "It's my duty to go pull that booty." So
I'm done with you. I'm done. But to this point, there was also another one here who mentioned. Hold a second. Yeah, Lance. No, and that's I can see that, but not to say that Jackson Arnold is Kyler Murray, but Kyler Murray only spent a year here playing. He redshirted. He had to sit a year because he actually transferred, and then he played a year and was out there, did what he did, and left. Right. So now, granted, he had some A&M tape. Some. I mean, does that really count? His A&M tape is basically like Jackson Arnold's freshman year, right? Then Kyler sat for a year, and then he played the next year, won the Heisman because he was behind Baker. So to me, Jackson Arnold can do that in 2 years. He can make tape. He can if he lights up. If he does what we saw Drake May do, which Drake May only played for 2 years at North Carolina, and he's already considered a top 5 draft pick.
Yeah,
That's I liken to what I've seen out of Jackson Arnold to Drake May, and that's just my thought personally. Right? Could be wrong, could be off base, but that's kind of what I've seen out of Jackson Arnold's ability in high school and the way he plays. Reminds me of Drake May. The question is if he can rein it in beautifully. Yeah, he's top 10 pick in 2 years.
and you don't. I mean, Jackson Arnold doesn't even have to play. If Jackson Arnold puts up Dylan Gabriel numbers from last year for 2 years, he's going in top 15 because you're going to see just with his capability, his escapability. He's got the brand with the Gatorade Player of the Year. He's won the Elite 11, everything like that. He's part of this massive quarterback class with. Oh man, I can't even handle that one. But he's part of the big quarterback class with Nico and guys. There's going to be a lot of conversation. And Malachi Nelson, who's the cat?
Why did you mention his name? Because he ain't even in. He's playing G5 ball right now. He ain't
San Jose State and everything like that. But that quarterback class was huge. There you had oh gosh, now I'm forgetting name. Jalen Shada, it was another one. So there's a lot of big
Yeah.
names in that.
Dante
And
Moore.
so yeah, Dante Moore, who committed to USC and now is going to Oregon. Is that correct? But
No, he's at
regardless,
UCLA. But yes,
UCLA.
continue.
Okay, so he's still there. So, but Jackson Arnold is going to. I mean, like I said, if he puts up Dylan Gabriel's stats from last week or last year, then yeah, he's going to be fine. So, with the skill positions around and what Emmett Jones is doing and DeMarco Murray is doing, if Bill Bedenbaugh, really sees development out of this 24 class, and we get what we hope to get in 25, guys, here we go. Like it is what it is. And yeah, do I think Jackson Arnold has the ability to eclipse anything outside of what Baker did? Because Jalen and Kyler only had 1 year. You're going to have to have 2 good years of stats. And Jackson's, he's got it. You guys just got to understand, that bowl game, the interception, I don't see the interceptions being something that's going to be a season-long plague. They were told to go out there and play football and just toss the ball around. And so Jackson Arnold's going to be he's going to be a first-round draft pick, unless he is just completely not what everybody has seen across the program. Most of the times there have been concerns elevated by several people at this point. But listen, nobody ever criticized Baker for being Baker.
Correct. Exactly. And so, Chuck, to answer your question here, do we really think that he could put up those numbers? Let me give you some intel real quick, right? Nick Foles, former Super Bowl winning quarterback at the Philadelphia Eagles, his senior year at Arizona, he threw for 4,300 yards and 28 touchdowns in 2011. Who was his offensive coordinator? Seth Littrell.
Chuck Long. Oh, damn, you already said it.
No, Seth Littrell was his offensive coordinator at Arizona that year, and he left there and went to Indiana the next year. So, being that his offensive coordinator was Seth Littrell in 2011, in an era before we really was seeing a whole bunch of air raiding it out, Littrell had this man throw for 4,300 yards, and getting himself drafted and going to the NFL. And then, of course, later on, he won a Super Bowl, after Carson Wentz went down. And then, the rest of his career is still in limbo. But my point is, the offensive coordinator that he had at that time, he threw for 4,300 yards. If we can't get that out of Jackson Arnold, we probably need to go ahead and just fire Seth Littrell on the dot. Right? Barring injury.
And Jason makes a phenomenal point. He's going against a top 15, top 25 defense every single day in practice. So if you see somebody, you can't have during practice and during the spring game, you can't have your offense light it up and your defense shut it down at the same time. That shit doesn't happen. You can't have that happen. So, Jackson Arnold is going to, just throwing it out, if we play Georgia, Tennessee's defensive line is salty. Their defensive backs, not so good. You've got Georgia, who is replacing a lot. Now they have a bunch of 5-stars. Alabama, same thing. So there's probably, the defense right now is probably the strongest outside of maybe 3 teams that they're going to face this year.
No, it's a fair point, right?
And if we're comparing Oklahoma and Jackson Arnold to Iowa, you might as well just start comparing it to the Kansas City Royals or something like that, because it's not, this isn't Iowa.
Yeah. And then when Seth went over to North Carolina, he had Marquise Williams throwing for over 3,000 yards.
Yeah.
He also ran for 900 yards. So, almost 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. So my point is that, and you're right, Chuck, DG had a lot of experience. A lot. Jackson's coming here young and cold. But it's not like we're not going to be having experienced dudes that's going to be able to do things to help them out, right? The wide receiver room's got a good year under their belt. 2 years underneath this regime, but 1 really good year under their belt. Seth Littrell's been here this entire time. It's going to help us, right? So, and the last thing, I know somebody mentioned that somebody mentioned, the worries of Sperry transfer, and I don't see it. I think Sperry's here to compete. I don't think freshmen disappear that quickly. I can see sophomores and juniors going ahead and throwing the deuces if they see that their chances of playing's not. And to be honest, if you go look at it today, most of the dudes that are transferring, especially at quarterback, are grad transfers because they lost their job to the younger guy. And so unless we see somebody, unless we see somebody push out Jackson Arnold or, push out like a Michael Hawkins, I don't see any of the young quarterbacks really leaving. I see somebody probably leaving as a grad transfer though, because it's like, all right, you're not ready for the league, but we've got a young guy that's lighting it up. We got to go ahead and move forward. So anyway,
yeah.
Thank y'all for joining as usual. Hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, and if you're listening, podcast version, rate, review, give us 5 stars. And if you deserve it, give us 5 anyway. Gift it. And Chuck, yes, thank you for having the discussion with us, man. We always appreciate that. It's a good conversation, especially newer faces in. And giving us some good questions to really go through. So we got a lot to dive into. Let's talk about some of the older stuff. We prepare ourselves for the spring game. There's a lot to talk about here, spring game wise, right? Oh yeah, we didn't talk about Michael Fusi pulling up, did we? Did we go on to him? We didn't talk about
Michael. Not yet.
We didn't talk about Michael Fusi. We got to talk about Michael Fusi showing up because it felt like Michael Fusi showed up out of nowhere. Right? It was one of those, Colin Kennedy reported he was going to show up, and then everybody confirmed Colin's report when they reached out to Fusi and his team, and the dude drove up from Louisville, Texas, and did a visit this weekend. Wasn't expected this past weekend. It wasn't expected for him to be here. It was one of those, oh, okay. And he's still going to come on April 25th. And so I mentioned this in the video, so y'all getting a preview of the video that's going to be launching probably after the show on that channel. But Fusi basically said in an article at the beginning of the year that I've been to Oklahoma a lot. I want to see what everything else is out there, right? And so he's been doing the tour. And PG is in the chat. He can confirm this because this is his deal. He's been close with Fusi and some of the recruits, and he's talked to him. But Michael decided that he wanted to, take some time to go visit and see places, and then now he's back. Everybody's thinking like everybody else has got a big lead on Oklahoma. Oklahoma ain't got no chance to win them. Then he randomly showed up to campus this weekend. He's coming back on the 25th. He's coming for his visit in June for the official. So to me, it sounds like there's a really good chance Oklahoma can win this. Coop, do you feel any more confident with that?
Yeah. For him to call Oklahoma, on his own accord and say, I'm gonna swing by, and then, about a month before, if you put a gun to my head and said, what is he doing? I gotta feel like he is I don't think that Fusi is completely just taking away, and he's not like doing away with all NIL conversations and wants nothing to do with it. Those conversations are coming. He is a plug and play guy as a freshman. I think that he can come in and start as a freshman, whether it's here, whether it's Texas, whether it's the Colt down south. It just is. So this is good. This is nothing but good. Sperry has been on top of Fusi for a very, very, very long time. And Sperry is still recruiting for Oklahoma. He moved back home. I know somebody was asking in the chat because his mom stayed back there. And so there's nothing bad. Like, you don't just move up to Oklahoma for a year and then the offensive coordinator goes somewhere and you're like, oh, man, that was completely unforeseen. Levy had been, interviewing for jobs. This is good, guys. And I know that there's a lot of, when you see any type of sporting event and it's a big, it's a big deal, the commentators and announcers always say, if they can just withstand this what's the word I'm looking for, Jay? Withstand this flurry of emotion early, then there you go. So I think that's, if anything, it's him coming back and saying, all right, this is what I got. Guys, I love Oklahoma. He's got a great relationship, but he is going to have people around him. So I still believe Fusi ends up as a Sooner. I really still believe that he ends up as a Sooner. I think that there's a conversation going on with a lot of these offensive linemen, just like there were with the defensive linemen last year. And, he sees the opportunity to maybe link up with a Babalola and a Tay Highwood, Ogumoro. There's guys in there. And so I think that, like I said, on the defensive line, you got to have more than 5 guys. You got to have 10, 11 guys that you have very extreme comfort playing with. So,
yeah.
Jay, I don't know how you feel about it, but a recruit, a top 100 recruit, a top offensive lineman, massive need of that for your positions, comes to you and says, "Hey, I just want to pop in and just hang out with you guys completely." You say, "Do you need us to pick you up from the airport? Do you need us to give you a little brigade, to usher you into town, whatever?" But he is a massive piece for this class.
He is. And if we can get him, that's the cornerstone on the offensive line that we are pushing for. Adding him with some others, another 4 and another 5 star that we're in pursuit of, that we actually have some really good opportunities with. We do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, we know that at that point, Bill Beatonbow is cooking with some hot stuff. So let's talk about spring game, right? And Mike mentioned this at the beginning of the show. Mike, thank you for posting this up here. There was, of course, something that kind of it jumped out to me too when we synced a few guys. You've got Akinkumi as well as Jalil Farouk in cast. Akinkumi's in a boot and he was on a scooter, and then Farouk was in an actual hard cast where he is done until the fall, it looks like, right? Fractured his foot based upon the reports from, I think George Stoya tweeted it out. Kind of threw me off, kind of saddened me. So, Coop, man, how do you feel like his injury impacts that room? I'll give you first dibs on this one because, yeah, I'm not concerned.
In what was it, Varsity Blues? Coach Lance comes in the ball game at the end of the deal. Tore his knee, and then he comes in and steps in for Farouk. Get your coach on, brother. Like, you have knowledge, you have stuff. So if you really are a team first guy, like I have heard reported. And speaking of reporting, freaking George Stoya is just an absolute boss. Like, if you guys do not, Colin Kennedy, George Stoya, those are 2 guys that they are just good at what they do. So, George, we had you on the show. We love you, buddy.
Yeah, you get him back on here, man. I've been trying to get him back on here. He's been playing.
Yeah, so I'll ping him, but George is just absolutely doing a phenomenal job. So with Farouk being gone, I don't think it does anything. You were seeing Nick Anderson held out, and my man Jaden Gibson is, he wants to be Megatron Part 2. He looks like he has a goal in mind. So with Farouk, there you go. Like, get out there, coach the team, work with the guys. Get in there. If there's going to be conversations around mistakes, and I promise you, people respect the hell out of Jalil Farouk. So with that one, that's how I feel about that.
Same, right? With the way that Emmett Jones has built that room, again, we need to go ahead and get Emmett Jones another raise. We've talked about that on numerous times. That's kind of like a thing on this show. If you're new to the channel, we talk about Emmett Jones getting a raise on a regular basis. Mainly because Emmett Jones built a room that's ridiculous, right? My favorite thing about it, too, is we've been playing around with a lot of the wide receivers, right? You got, so Jalil Farouk has been out there being basically a veteran presence. Him, Billy Bowman. There's been a lot of articles written lately in which I need to make some videos on. It's just talking about how a lot of the older Sooners have really reached back to the young guys and really trying to help train, groom them, prepare them for even what to expect in the SEC, even though some of them ain't seen the SEC, but some of them have. The best part about it is, though, they really have taken upon themselves to help be leaders and groom the next set of leaders for this team. So Farouk being out, fracturing his foot in practice, saddens me because I need him to have his redemption act, right? This is an opportunity for him to redeem himself from what happened last season, especially those 2 fumbles against Arizona in the bowl game. That game was a win if you don't fumble those balls, right? Well, from there, you take him helping teach. Like I said, Nick's been held out, make sure he's healthy. He's going to be coming back good. But Jaden Gibson's been showing out. Deion Burks has already taken it upon himself to say, hey, I'm starting, y'all. Y'all ain't going to stop me. Good luck. Find somebody to take the job from me, please. Go ahead. And he's talking mad noise in practice. Here's a name that's going to be amazingly shocking to y'all. J.J. Hester, former Tulsa boy, former, when is that? Was that Missouri?
Booker T.
College. Where did he transfer in from?
Yes, Missouri.
Yeah, I think he was at Missouri. He's out here showing out. Hey, he's 6'4" and he fast. So going with this, guys. Then you got all the young guys out there showing out. So you still got Jaquez Petaway and Brennan Thompson, the speedsters, doing their thing. You've got freshman Ivan Carrion, who looks like he may not get an opportunity to redshirt because he's just that much of a beast. The wide receiver room is pretty stacked. It's probably one of the more stacked rooms in college football, just with the talent that we have. Nick Six, and then Gibson out here showing out as if he wants a spot. Imagine this lineup, Coop. Here's a lineup that just made my mouth water. You put Nick Anderson out there next to Jaden Gibson. From those two, you line up on the inside and Ivan Carrion, and that's your 3 wide. You decide to put a tight end in there, Von Mitchell. So that's 6'4", 6'5", 6'5" tight end, and then 6'6" in the slot. Decide to go 4 wide receivers and no running back. You bring in out there a J.J. Hester, who's also 6'4". Who's defending that? Who's stopping it? And that's just the height, guys, right? I'm just going tall dudes for this one. Because, of course, we can throw all the 4.4 speed at wide receiver right behind it. But, Coop, who's stopping that? Tell me, who's stopping it?
You think about the 2-minute drill, like at the end of the halftime, or when you got to just throw a Hail Mary. Like, would you not like to throw a little 5 wide out there with Gibson, Anderson, Deion Burks, Bauer Sharp, throw a Carry-On out there? I mean, it doesn't matter. And then, let's just pretend that Xavier Robinson can catch the football. You throw him out there too. And so, like you said, Jay, we've got the height, but then you've also got the shifty route running inside slot guys. Show me a deeper wide receiver room in the country. Like, I just don't see a deeper one in the country. Like, is Michigan? Does Ohio State have a bunch of 5 stars? Sure, yeah, they've got a bunch of 5 stars, and they're going to continue to ball out. It's once again like it is to do that quarterback run. Eventually, you're going to run out of these 5 stars, or one of these guys are just not going to produce. And they can be good, but we saw with Weiss, Bridges, and Hazelwood, you can throw 5 guys out there. That's great. And Anthony will be playing. I would say that if Andrell Anthony, you're most likely end out with Andrell Anthony is probably him slowly starting to come back around conference season and maybe catching his speed towards the end of the season. He is an absolute luxury at this point, though, guys.
Yeah,
he's a first to third round wide receiver in this draft. In the NFL. So to say that, like, hey, listen, maybe a third round wide receiver as a luxury. That's not bad, right? So you've got everything. And I know it's been forever since we've brought this up. At least 7 minutes, but it's time for Emmett to get a raise.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm ready for. Let's go ahead and get this man his raise again, because he's done what we needed him to do by building a wide receiver room that we're not concerned about. Now we talk about wide receivers and, of course, getting excited about the big boys going into the zone. Well, Lori, no, not that he's not going to play. He's just not healthy yet. Now, granted, the good thing about this is I haven't even mentioned Andrew Anthony yet. And Lori, thank you for pointing that out, because Andrew Anthony is coming off of that knee surgery. And once he is about 99 to 100% healthy, I think he'll go into the fall at around 80, 85%, maybe even 90. He may be up there. But he's not walking around in a knee brace. That excites me. I don't think he's running drills and stuff yet, but he's not out there on a brace. I think he walks into the fall and it's just going to be a very, very stacked and busy room. And I'm
That
very
is.
happy for us on that. I'm happy for us on that. We needed that, Coop. We needed a room like that.
And again, no massively dominant RPO game means that you can slide some of these guys in and out. No, nobody forgot a Caravan. Nobody has forgotten about Farouk and what he could do. But I mean, after 4 years, I think some people would rather see a Petaway get his opportunity, or But he did have. I mean, he had a disastrous game against Arizona, and that's the last thing in our mouth. I mean, my picture for him for the 2023 season is still going to be him jawing at every single one of these of the Texas guys coming out. Like that's going to be forever and sooner lore. Like that, it is what it is. But like Woody, again, I would be saying it if Jonah Lalau was on this team. Like, I love you, brother, but it's time for the new. And
Right.
it just is what it is. And I really do believe that Farouk, probably under Emmett Jones from the get, is probably a much better player. But it's just, I mean, he's not overly tall, and he's not elite on any of it. He's not an elite route runner. He doesn't have elite speed. He doesn't have elite size, and he doesn't have elite hands. He is good on all of those things. And so now you're seeing Brendan Thompson has elite speed. Jaquez Petaway has elite change of direction. Ivan Carrion has elite size. Like, there's so many elites coming through here.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're going Laulu, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I kind of need him to. Can he come back? We could use another 300 pounder.
I like Coe. I'd like if I could somehow, I don't know,
let's ask
smuggle Coe
that.
back in. I'll text Isaiah and just be like, any chance you got any of that eligibility left, brother?
Hey man, let's ask that question. If you bring back one player on the defense from last year's team, who would you bring? I'd probably bring Coe too. Probably Coe would be my number one person.
Coe. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. I think Farouk has elite effort.
And that's not wrong. I think that's
It's not.
It's not wrong at all because he really does.
I can handle people with great attitude, great team players, and with great effort guys making a mistake. What I don't want to see is people who aren't trying very hard come out and not make and then make a mistake. Like, that's what I don't want to see. So, but again, we are well past that with the CD, the competitive depth. We're well past. Outside of the offensive line, we are well past it. You could say that maybe. What about the defensive line? I think we just don't have the experience or the tenure there. But
yeah, and that's exactly what it is, Chuck. You're spot on. We're gonna see the best player at the time, and the good thing is that it gives the opportunity for the young guys to catch up to the speed of the college game coming from high school, right? I know a lot of us get excited and really would like to see some freshmen play, see a lot of freshmen play. That is not always a good thing, right? Usually teams that have a whole bunch of young dudes playing are usually the ones that are losing games, especially close ones. It's just very easy to trick a young freshman because, they're not used to the speed of the game and understanding schemes. You need that experience. That's the best part about college is in comparison to NFL. NFL is so much more it's a higher level of chess in comparison to college. But with college, you only get so many years to be in there. And because you only got so many years, it requires a lot more. It's a lot harder to think through it, right? It's a lot harder to really grasp it immediately. Where NFL, after a couple of years and you're in the league at fourth, fifth year, if you're great, you're great. You're gonna just dominate. You're gonna make it's gonna be a deeper chess match for the coaches to figure out how to scheme. Teams were scheming for Aaron Donald like crazy, which is wild. Right? He ain't even 300 pounds. He out there forcing teams to scheme for him. So that's my point. I love that college does that to where, you don't have to scheme as much and the players don't have as much experience, but at the same time, it's still very high end and high quality football. So, outside of that offensive line, yeah, we got a lot of, Everett is out. Troy Everett is done until fall. We talked about that last show about a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago probably. Akinkumi is in a boot. So we got a lot of needs on. I think the offensive line. I think the defensive line. We could use an additional 300 plus pounder, probably somebody in the 310 range, possibly. I think Blindy. I mentioned about him. Bleedy. I'm sorry, Philip Bleedy, the defensive lineman from Indiana, the grad transfer that will be here for the spring game. We need an additional him, but bigger, to go on the defensive line. So we'll get that from the portal. We definitely need to get our hands on another set of offensive linemen. A center will be nice. And Damon, you asked this question about the kid from SMU. Man, I really do hope we can go after him and get him. I know that we're in the market. The good thing is, as I mentioned, Tuesday, we will have a lot of news around the portal, who's in, who's going to be available, and who's going to go after who, because that's the official moment they can go in. We'll probably hear about it all through the weekend, going up into the spring game of, because I put it to you like this. Some of those kids that jump in the portal will probably fly out or find a way to get up here for the spring game, see what they see, and wonder if that's an opportunity. So, Coop, as we think about that, let's talk about portal wise. Anybody that jumped out to you that you would like for Oklahoma to go after that's already entered their name.
No, I mean, as of right now, I don't think that the Zamandela kid, I don't think the OU is going to kick the tires on that one. They don't need a young, unproven guy. You need somebody who's been out there. So I mean, if you can get somebody like a Walter Rouse, that's it. That like an absolute, that's what you want to do. I think that the Bleedy kid sounds. I mean, like it just sounds like he's coming here.
Right.
So, but what is he? Does Deshaun McCullough know him? Because I guess they played there, right?
They did play together.
1 year. Yeah. So there's Deshaun's going to have some something to say to be involved in the group over there. So Monty, my man, what's up, brother? But outside of that, you're going to hear an absolute full set of names. But here's what OU wants somebody to come in, and you're going to have to come in and win a game and win that position. You're not going to come in. You're not going to. If anybody is bagging for this late, OU's going to have something available, and it's going to be pretty much a take it or leave it. Like, you're not walking in the transfer portal with this much desperation going, hey, I just want good effort, and we'll give you the same NIL. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that we're going to hit it with some NIL. But, and I maintain, offensive line is still the defensive line. You just need a body just for numbers. But every offensive line is the only one that I think, are willing to go be a little ridiculous in this portal. But yeah, it's I don't know of any other names. There's a couple whispers out there, and I will not mess with whispers. When if you're in the portal, I'll say your name.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk all about you.
I'm not gonna say. And listen, do not. If anybody brings up any specific defensive tackles out of A&M,
nowhere,
I'll fight you.
Yeah, you can do that. The bad part about it is, I know everybody's mentioned that name, but now that we're in the SEC, we can't touch him unless he's a graduate.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember that. So for the uninitiated here, if a kid in the SEC decides to transfer, he cannot transfer within the SEC because of conference rules, not NCAA rules. But the conference has a rule that you cannot accept other SEC players in the portal unless they're a graduate. So keep that notated in mind. So as you think about and you see and hear about these players hitting the portal, if they in the SEC, we ain't touching them. Why? Because we follow the rules for fall sports. So because it'll be a fall sport kid that will be coming in the portal, we do follow the rules now, even though we're not officially there until July 1. We do officially follow that rule right now. So, Jermaine Lowley from Louisville hit the portal. That may be someone to consider. All right. So Sissy has a question here. What's going on, Sissy? Thanks for pulling up. I was wanting to know if our QB was going to be good and if we have a good QB2 as backup. We do. Jackson Arnold's going to be solid. I think he's going to live up to the hype. Backup wise, I mean, Casey Thompson's not bad. The way that he's been slinging it in in practices, Hurry looks good, man. That man looks good. So you got Casey. He's got to get healthy though. But number 2 probably is Michael Hawkins, the freshman. He looks absurd based upon all the reports. I've seen a little video. Quarterback wise, Sissy, we're good. I think we're really, really good.
And I think that what you might end up seeing is if you, I think if Casey's healthy, Casey's your backup by, on paper. But I think that if anything happens, if Hawkins continues out through the fall and we need something, and I'm talking long term, like I think if Jackson Arnold, I don't know, gets a helmet-to-helmet hit or something like that in a non-conference game, I think you might run, you could run Hawkins out there for a little, cleanup or something like that. Hell, I think you throw both of the guys out there because you want to see what happens with live bullets. If Jackson Arnold goes down, then you're just trying to make it through the season. Like there's Michael Hawkins is not going to lead us to a playoff or towards competition. Then it's just trust your defense, trust your run game, and make sure your quarterback can go out there. Then we're playing Baltimore Ravens type of offense. So, Casey Thompson coming in for a half of football. This is not going to be like Baker Mayfield going out and then Trevor Knight throwing, worm burners against TCU and us just holding on for dear life. That's not our quarterback room anymore. We don't have an OU Texas from 2 years ago. So there you go. And right. As far as like what I do know, Trevor Knight, when he came in, when Baker Mayfield went out at halftime for the concussion, I was at that game, and Trevor Knight maybe threw 2 good balls. It looked like OU Texas from 2 years ago.
So, on top
Casey
of that,
Thompson's better than that.
Yeah. So, to go with that, I think Michael does a lot more cleanup than anything. So we'll move on from that portion of it. Good question I was asking here as well. Chuck, great question. Do we think of any guys hitting the portal? Now, I'm going to tell y'all this real quick on it. You'll hear me preach this going forward. I don't see any of our guys hitting the portal this year. I do see a bunch of guys hitting the portal in December, though. I think once the season completes, we see some people hit the portal. And that's just me being honest, because I think at that point, I feel like a lot of these kids, especially the ones that BV brought in, they kind of want to see how this plays out. They want to see if the opportunities come. They want to see what it looks like. I sense that's what's going to happen. Coop?
I think that Davis Bevel's not even on the team anymore, if I'm not mistaken.
He's gone.
So, he didn't transfer to South Carolina or something like that.
Yeah, he's South Carolina.
Yeah, so, all right. So, I just make sure everybody else knows what's going on because I don't want someone to be like, oh, yeah, Jay Coop said Davis Bevel's going to get some time. Maybe it tied in. So, listen, guys, option 1 is making them a walk-on preferred, giving them NIL. That's going to be option 1. I think that option 2 is, you've got guys like a Hester. Yes, he's healthy, but you've been here for 3-4 years. Maybe he says, listen, I got to go somewhere else. You have a couple of the other, running, people that we're not hearing anything about on the offensive line. Maybe one of them disappears. Maybe a Marcus Strong. You always want to pause when it's first year guys because you just never know. And we've pretty much processed everybody else. And everybody else sees this year as this is their year for opportunity. So I will say that I don't think that we're going to have any surprises at all. I just really don't. I think after the year, we're going to have some surprises. And, just you're again, this is not David Agwebu leaving to go to Houston to play a different position. You're going to have guys that you are absolutely fired up about, like a Phil Pachotti. Phil, he is a guy who could come in here and be a legit, a 3-year starter at linebacker. He's got a lot of guys in front of him, and he's coming off of a knee surgery. So, at that point, does he maybe head back home? And that's where we're at as a team now, is you're going to see some guys that you don't want to leave this team head out versus a Pat Fields who you're going just freaking, I don't know, become a grandfather and graduate or something. Like, we got to get you off the team, or a bookie. Guys, we got a lot of talent here.
Talent's big. And so, Mike, thank you so much for the $2, my man. Always donate to the channel. Have a question. Any news on our running back room? Hey, don't you do it. Hey, calm yourself down. But I am excited about the fact that I've been hearing Megwa's been getting some run. So y'all know Emeka Megwa. He was the big yoked up running back that we've seen in pictures and stuff. If you're on the channel, go look. You'll see in the community, I posted a picture of other running backs. It looks like they feeding them very, very well. Now, Megwa came in here yoked, but he had that bad knee situation in Washington, which is kind of fascinating because he's actually suing the University of Washington because of the way that they treated him during that knee situation. So now he's here at Oklahoma. He walked on. We took care of him knee-wise. So I'll say this. Coop. I seen the pictures of him. I'm hearing that he's getting some run. The running back room seems like it's okay, but it also seems like we're still battling. We're overcoming injury. I don't think anybody's hurt, but I think everybody's still getting past it. Like the Javonte Barnes toe injury supposedly was pretty bad, and which he had the surgery, which is why you didn't see him much of last season. But it sounds like he's back to about his form that he was right before Florida State. So I'm assuming Javonte Barnes is going to be out there. Salchuk is doing Salchuk things. Franklin, I've heard mixed reviews on him, but I heard that he's made some big breaking plays. Question is he physically ready for the grind that comes from playing in the SEC, especially for DeMarco Murray? Because DeMarco Murray don't play about, not completing your plays, completing your route, doing all your stuff, right? Then you got to move on from there into Caleb Hicks, in which everybody is saying Hicks not only looks good, but he physically looks good. Like, looks real good. He's one of them that jumped out to me like, cool. I was like, all right. We ready to get a young pup some run? And then, of course, we got a few other running backs in the room, but I think we're all right. Now, granted, I thought it was fascinating that our name did end up with that transfer running back from Oregon State. That did intrigue me as to why we ended up as a finalist. Like, if we actually reached out, I'm wondering if they're trying to make sure they do want another like number one running back just in case. Because, we still got two dudes that injury wise, with three dudes actually. If you look at it, you got Salchuk, who had hamstring injury issues, Javonte Barnes, who had the surgery and he's still trying to get back there, and then Megwa with the knee stuff. You really only got Hicks and Franklin, who's really good running backs that are healthy. Well, then, of course, the freshman, Xavier Robinson. And then when Taylor Tatum showed up this summer, right? And Andy Bass has had knee surgery. He's gone into next year. Cool. Running back wise. Does it make sense to go after another one?
No. I mean, the Oregon State guy, that's a guy that, like, if you're a running back away from making a real national championship run, you go after him. Like, he is an absolute baller. But you stay with this. Do we have Adrian Peterson, DeMarco Murray, Joe Mixon on campus? We don't have that guy. We don't have that guy.
No.
But I think we have better than Alan Patrick, Chris Brown, and Kejuan Jones. I think it's somewhere between those two. And I'm sorry, but Kejuan Jones was a great running back. Alan Patrick was a great running back. So no shot at those guys, but I mean, there's just a separation between AD and AP, and you're going to have Salchuk at number one. Javonte Barnes has ripped off a 60-yard run at some point. Sam Franklin ran off So we don't have Adrian Peterson. We don't have that. None of these guys are going to get drafted in the first round. So what we will have though is we are going to we're going to have a loaded group. So it's health. We just got to stay healthy. And Dom Whaley in there too. Yeah. So Topher, that's a good one too. But or a DD. Oh gosh, played on the Chiefs.
Moses Madu.
No. Super fast, had a huge long against Texas, was on the Chiefs for a while, set out during COVID year in the NFL.
Ramonde. Who was with that Ramonde? God, who's the other back?
I'll think of it here in a second.
Yeah, I blanked.
But he is extremely fast, and there's another guy with the same name in the so it'll come. So yeah, so Williams, D.D. Williams. What DD is what he was called when he was at college, but I digress. So Taylor Tatum is a guy that I don't think that you have any dependency on him this year. So we just want to do this. So no, we're not taking Ollie Gordon. We're not taking anybody from anywhere. I don't think. Unless there is health issues, but I think that you just got too much. Now, if you see this running back room continue on this year like it did last year, you see some transfers. Damian Williams. There you go. Thank you, Richard.
There he is, Damian. Oh yeah, Damian Williams. Yeah. He played. Yes, he did play for. That's crazy. Wow.
The Chiefs.
He was a title team on the title team too.
I think it was the first one that they had, and then in 2019, because COVID, he was a COVID sit out. And then he came back, and they had drafted homeboy out of LSU, and so long story short,
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, Clyde, who hasn't played a good game since he played OU in the Sugar Bowl.
Exactly.
So there's that. But yeah, no, this running back room is solid, and what you just want to see is guys make when you're running. The running back's job is to have good vision and make the first guy miss. If it's set up correctly, they need to be able to make the first guy miss, and that's what we've had issues with. Eric Gray's first year versus his second year is the second year when he was our entire offense, Venable's first year, he could actually make people miss in the backfield, and that's an issue that Javonte Barnes has had massive problems with. That's besides the health, that's it. And so now with these guys healthy, hopefully they can get out there. And like I said, when we were talking about the running backs coming into this year, when we were still, had all the targets in front of us, is you talk about guys who can come and share the load, because running backs' life are so short. These guys need to work together and need to be able to go in, bang out some good plays, and then come off the field and let another dude come in. I'm excited about Megwa because he is a muscle hamster. And he is going to, listen, if the guy's knee is healthy, this is a guy who looks like, all right, here we're going back in Oregon running back, punched the fan, ran on the field. LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah.
That's who Megwa reminds me of, because he was just an absolute ball of muscle. So it is. And so, when Tatum gets here, I think it should be late June, early July. He's going to have to come in, get in football shape, and he's going to have, because Taylor Tatum, he is a one-cut go guy. And he is a little bit more, athletic version of Sawchuk, more of a running back. But Hicks looks like he was made, in a factory. And so he looks like an absolute just superstar, ready to come out. So we will see some good running back options this year.
Agreed. And so let's wrap it up. Linebackers. Monty asked the question, the nerves around losing our guy, Phil Pachotti. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think we lose him. I think the big, someone mentioned this, I think the one candidate would be there. Possibly is going to be our guy, Kobe McKenzie, but it sounds like he's dating a softball player. And I know that he's a big BV guy, so I don't see him going either, especially since I know he's been rotating a lot. I don't think Phil leaves because he was hurt last year. He tore his ACL. He's still rehabbing, still getting his body going. And I think that he's going to want to put some tape together before he just goes and bolts. he comes across as a guy that would do that first before just bouncing. I don't see anybody in the linebacker room leaving yet. I'm
Shane Witter, that's a
truly
good one.
Shane, maybe, but Shane, he's great. If he as a grad transfer, I could see it. If he's
Mhm.
graduating or graduated, I could totally see. If he ain't graduated, I don't see Shane leaving. He's been pretty dedicated to Oklahoma as he's been moving down the depth chart. Um, Same thing with Lewis Carter. I think Lewis Carter's. I know he's been running with the twos, so I understand
Lewis
the missile was ready to keep playing. K9. I can't think of her name for the life of me. I'm not very good with the softball girls' names.
Kinsey Hansen.
There you go, Kinsey Hansen. I know she go by K9.
And I'm just telling you, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. Kinsey's always been like I'm a as a pitcher, I'm a sucker for a catcher. As far as the Yadier Molina is one of my favorite players of all times, and I just love a good catcher, and she is the absolute captain of that team. And so yeah, it's good, guys. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's an opportunity away from making himself some money. And I don't think that going and starting over is not something. And Kobe's the type of guy who could play one season, have a really good season, and still go second, third, fourth round. And that's what you want. What do you want for him? So, but I guess the only thing I'm looking in here, maybe a Jaden Rowe, and that's only because the health. And nobody will turn him down. I promise you that. Nobody will turn him around. But you also, because with the transfers of Malaska and everything like that, we've got more opportunity. So, like I said, let's just wait until the end of the year, and now we're going to start. Our tears will start coming up because there's none of these guys. There's nobody on this team that I'm like, I'm okay with losing him.
Yeah, I'm still holding out hope on Jaden Rowe. He's 6'2", and he runs like a 4.40, and he likes to hit. He's a track kid. I would like for him to run track at OU as well as play football and play corner. I like his speed, and his problem hasn't been he's had shoulder problems. That's about it.
And
I really don't want him to leave. I'm holding out hope on him. I'm just going to say that. I'm holding out hope.
The size reminds me of Chijoke Onyengecha because, Chijoke was a JUCO transfer in, was 6'2", 200 and some odd change, and had hammy issues and just never became that guy. And but at least he got to play a little bit. We still haven't seen Rowe outside of mop-up duty. And so because he's a guy that when he gets on the field, everybody's going to be like, who the hell is that guy? Because he's almost 6'4". Yeah, he's almost 6'4". He runs a 4.4, and he's like 220. Who is it, James? He might transfer out and move to defensive end. He'd do a better damn job than David Agwebu. No, it's...
Especially with his speed. Whew.
Yeah.
They should have played Agwebu at edge. He's one player that should have been edge. He should have never been linebacker, right? But at the same time, you can only work with what you got, right? That's just kind of the name of the game.
And super quick, I think that literally you had to pick the lesser of two evils. It was put him at edge and then deal with a completely gap on linebacker, or put him at linebacker and deal with it. And you just didn't want to change the position and have him still do nothing. So. But again, that's what happens when you have Booty Tybo as your strength and conditioning, and you know nothing about running a defense. So it just is what it is.
It is what it is, and so we'll see how everything turns out. All right, we're gonna wrap it up, put a bow on it. Thank y'all for pulling up as usual here to the show. We love running our mouths to y'all and having a good time. We appreciate the love and always the support. Please, before you roll out, wipe your feet. Before you didn't do it and came in the house, please do it before you leave the house. Hit that like button. New to the channel, subscribe. If you're listening, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. I think we deserve it. Give us 5 anyway and gift it. And so we'll be back Wednesday night. We'll definitely be back Wednesday night. We'll talk more spring game, and we'll talk transfer portal because that's when everything's going to be going down. We'll talk any practice news that comes down the line because BV has been letting the beat reporters out there, which has been awesome. So we've been getting a lot of information and a lot of stuff to debate and talk about. So we'll be back. We'll be, like I said, we'll be here Wednesday. We'll talk spring game. I'll be at the spring game. Coop's going to be at the spring game with me. If you going to be there, we got to figure out a way to link up somewhere at the stadium because, yeah, it's going to be a good time. With that, chop it up with y'all. Couple of days. Peace.